The Meeper! Do you have much faith in James Cameron's DC reboot? I don't have any skepticism towards it. I've actually talked about this quite a bit on my second channel, actually in clips that were pulled out from these live streams. Kind of my thoughts on all of it. You know, I look at it and I see they're bringing in James Cameron. That's a different person entirely. Bringing in James Gunn, who's a comic book lover. He's a storyteller. He's a writer. And people think of him as just the guy that did Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy, but he also wrote Scooby-Doo. He also wrote Dawn of the Dead. He also did other movies besides all of this. He's much more varied in his abilities than what people have given him credit for. So I've talked about this in some of these other videos about my thoughts on him writing a Superman movie and things like that. I have some reservations. He's not the person that I would pick to write a Superman movie. And, I think it's his brother or his cousin did Brightburn a few years back, and he was one of the producers on it. So you have a flavor of what his dark version of Superman would be. So I don't immediately jump to that, but he's a storyteller. So the fact that they're bringing in an actual storyteller to work on their world, good. But they also brought in a producer. It's not just James Gunn. James Gunn's the storyteller, and then they have a producer guy that does the other side to it. That's more than just a guy with his concept for these characters. So I want to see their plan. It's tough to say, what do I think about all of this when all we know is they brought someone in who's trying to course correct the mess that's been the DC universe over the last forever. And you guys know my content. I am a big fan of most of these DC things that they've put out. But as a cohesive universe, it is not that. It is not cohesive. It's not focused. They're constantly course correcting. They're constantly trying to play catch up. And if you want to set up a cohesive universe, you need someone to come in that has a plan, and you have to stick to the plan. That's why they're bringing in James Gunn. That's what James Gunn is supposed to do. So do I have faith in James Gunn? Well, I'm a big fan of his Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm a big fan of Suicide Squad. I really enjoyed Peacemaker. I really enjoyed Dawn of the Dead. He's been a part of a bunch of things that I have thoroughly enjoyed. So I don't have reason to just inherently be skeptical of him. And most of the people that are, they're mad about other things. There's so much more to it. It's like a culture war thing where WB fired Zack Snyder and we need Zack Snyder to win. It's that, which Zack Snyder's not going to come back to work for Warner Bros. Discovery. There's too many burned bridges there. There's too many stepped on toes. It's not going to happen. And so they're wanting something that's not possible, and they're like, well, you're rebooting your universe. Why don't you want Henry Cavill? Well, I would love it if we got a proper Man of Steel 2 and a proper send-off for him. I would love all that. But if you're trying to kick off a new universe, cohesive continuity, a 40-year-old man's not the best starting point for a guy that is Superman. It's a lot more hard. It's a lot more difficult to be Superman when you're 40, 45, 50 than it is when you're 28. There's a lot of things you have to factor into it, and people are just they're not thinking about the reality of all of this. They're just thinking about the thing that they want. They're not thinking about what's good for a studio and a continuity. They're just thinking, I want more of this thing. So give me more of this thing. I'd love to have more Henry Cavill as Superman, and I'd love Batfleck the movie, but that doesn't mean they're going to happen. And there's a lot of reasons for that.